Hey, Sens fans. Thanks for watching the Senstennial podcast, a member of the Hockey Podcast Network. In today's video, we're discussing the hottest topic in the Ottawa area right now. We're discussing the ownership news regarding Snoop Dogg. Yes, Snoop Dogg joining the Neko Sparks bid and how that compares to the Remington Group and Ryan Reynolds bid for Ottawa Senators ownership. It's going to be an interesting one, and I think if you had asked either one of us a couple years ago whether we could see Ryan Reynolds and Snoop Dogg competing in competing groups anyway for Ottawa Senators ownership, we'd both be like, "What?" So this is quite the development, and I'll kick it off to you to start, Matt. What were your initial thoughts when news broke that the one and only Snoop Dogg was part of the Neko Sparks bid for the Ottawa Senators?
Yeah, it's obviously really cool. You know, everybody and their mother knows about Snoop Dogg and how influential he is in hip hop and in black communities in America. And I think it's really cool that he began being like this huge LA Kings fan. He was, I believe, on like NHL or like EA Sports's NHL games in commentary. He started really showing his excitement and stuff for hockey, and then he gets involved with the Neko Sparks bid, and that's a pretty significant figurehead because like Snoop Dogg is one of the most wholesome and iconic celebrities that are out there. Like his anything he does is good stuff. And I really think it's an opportunity to grow the sport within BIPOC communities, obviously. um you know it's it's one of those things that you hope to see it in Canada. There was a lot of conversation about his comments on how it was mostly going to be in the States and stuff. I think those have been clarified, that he's going to be doing the exact same thing, or hoping to at the very least, in Ottawa and in Canada in general. It's cool. It's really cool. Like, having Ryan Reynolds and Snoop Dogg vying for the opportunity to be involved with the Ottawa Senators through their respective ownership groups is so awesome. We were starved as a fan base for new ownership because we had this toxic owner who just would not stop keeping his grubby hands in things. And, a couple of years later, he's since passed on, and that's really unfortunate. But it's produced a really, really cool opportunity for the Ottawa Senators as a marketing brand itself, but for the team. Like, this is great.
Yeah, and I was actually gonna go back and before you commented about how Ian Mendez's piece hoped to clarify Snoop Dogg's, interest in being in the
Yeah.
Canadian market, there was a lot of concern because when he was in discussion with Stephen A. Smith, he never really mentioned Ottawa other than when he
Yeah.
said, Ottawa Senators. There was no mention of building the community within Ottawa. It was about expanding and having the Snoop Youth League in the US. And so it drew some concerns from Sens fans, especially online, of course. And a lot of people were like, well, is he interested in Ottawa and the community of like Ottawa and building a community there
Yeah.
and helping, BIPOC youth like be able to grow the game set in that they're better represented in hockey. And
Yeah.
so there was a lot of, I think, issue with that in his interview there. So Ian Mendes' article that he released really helped clarify things. That said, there was some criticism from people that it was just a puff piece, which I don't really think is
Come on, man. You said puff.
yeah, I know.
Exceptional.
You're welcome. But people did say that because they were wondering if Ian Mendes was just trying to toot the horn of the Neko Sparks Snoop Dogg bid, and I think it was more just to get insight because I think Ian Mendes is a great journalist and he saw, hey, listen, there's genuine concern from the fan base that he might not be interested in this community. So I think him digging into that and actually getting a 20-minute interview with Snoop and being able to put this article out there, especially with such quick turnaround, I think
Yeah.
was great and it was helpful. And I think a lot of fans have kind of either done a 180 turnaround or at least are a lot less irritated or worried about the potential moving or more interest in an American market. So the other things that were interesting in that article were the fact that he mentioned some former NHL players who are going to be part of the NHL ownership group and help advise on hockey ops stuff and have a role in the hockey ops department. And so he listed Matthias Nordstrom, Trevor Daley, Grant Fuhrer, who's a legend, and James Neal, James the real deal Neal from the
That's
Pittsburgh Penguins.
wild.
Yeah, that one
James Neal?
like in general, it kind of was surprising me, but James Neal, I was like, okay, sure,
Yeah.
whatever. And of course, the article mentioned Alfredson getting a significant hockey ops role, or likely to get a significant hockey ops role, which I don't think any Sens fan would complain about, you know. But just based on that information, was there anything that kind of popped out to you, or you enjoyed or disliked about that?
I think having that article, I just imagine Ian Mendez sitting down on a Zoom call with Snoop Dogg and just starting it. It's like, so nice to meet you, Mr. Dog. Like, but it just creates such an amazing image. No, it's really cool that he said, why aren't we seeing Connor McDavid everywhere? And the league doesn't market itself very well, and truthfully, that's exactly spot on. He wants to market Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle. Those are like premier players for the Ottawa Senators, and as they should. Aside from that, like, it's so cool to know that a guy like that is really interested in the Senators, really interested in hockey as a sport in general. Um, but the James Neal thing, that's kind of, I didn't expect that. Um, yeah, I like there's obviously a lot to unpack with the article. But the biggest one is that, he is very interested. It's not a PR stunt or anything like that. It's, there's legitimate interest and they want to have an NHL team, and that's the bottom line. Light the lamp during the hockey playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can make a $5 bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. Game 2 of the Dallas and Seattle series is on tonight. You have Dallas at minus 210 and Seattle at plus 180. What will you wager? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code THPN. New customers can make a $5 hockey playoff bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN, only at the DraftKings Sportsbook.
Let's face it, with coffee starting at $5, yes, even without any customizations, and our bank account somehow always depleting, we're officially entering a dupe session. Most products do the same thing, but are priced differently, solely based on the brand name. So a good duplicate, or dupe, is crucial for getting the highest quality at the best price. One dupe you definitely shouldn't sleep on: Raycon wireless earbuds. Raycon is premium audio at the perfect price point, so you can listen to whatever you want, whenever you want, without breaking the bank. Right now, as you all know, groceries, they're costing you a lot. So you don't want to be spending too much money on other purchases like your earbuds. Raycon's mission is to prove that you shouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg for quality sound and essential smart tech listening features. You can get a pair and a spare and still pay less than you would with some of those other more big name tech brands out there. Raycon knows that in this economy, every purchase needs to be perfect. They offer buy now, pay later options. Right now, you can pay as low as $18 at checkout. Raycon has an easy and free return guarantee. They offer 2 years of product protection insurance for just a few bucks. They offer free domestic shipping and flat fee international shipping, and they have over 50,000 5-star reviews. And they've got just a ton of features that you're going to want to love to have on your earbuds. And just a few of those: noise isolation and awareness mode. They've got crystal clear call quality. They're water and sweat resistant, and they have 8 hours of playtime if you get those everyday earbuds. So go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score 15% off your order. Buyraycon.com/THPN. Welcome back, everyone. And continuing off of the conversation we were just having, we looked at some of the positives that were mentioned in Ian Mendez's article about Snoop Dogg's addition to the Neko Sparks bid and some of the other stakeholders that they have in that bid. There were also some concerns, and I think that these are still valid even after that Ian Mendez article that came out. And so some of the concerns are, first of all, there's several stakeholders involved in this bid. It seems like the consortium has I don't know exactly the number, but just a number of bidders that are involved in that, and they all kind of have a slice of the pie. And that's fine, but you know, it could also potentially lead to problems with disagreements on either financial decisions at the highest level or allocation of funding down the road. If partners maybe have issues with one another, what could happen there? Predominantly American ownership. Is there anything there that
Yeah.
could be worrying, especially for Ottawa Senators fans, when there has been discussion in the past of Ottawa relocating? And I know the NHL and Gary Bettman have shut that down, but it's still something that is cause for concern for Sens fans.
Yeah.
So, were any of these things that you thought about or have opinions on?
Obviously, the consortium thing is a lot of cooks in one kitchen can just be too much. I saw a tweet yesterday that basically said like the Neko Sparks group had hired an Ottawa business um, to essentially find local stakeholders to be involved, which I think is pretty significant because that might signal that they don't have the funding yet. And final bids are due May 15th, and they are on the clock. With that said, it's, you know, whether it's Snoop Dogg or Ryan Reynolds, both are significant figureheads if they did own the Senators, and like they would probably be the face of the franchise, so to speak. While the heavy lifters with their wallets are sitting in the back, letting them do their thing because they're good marketers. They know what it's about. The predominantly American owned team, though, like I would love to keep it Canadian, um, simply because like it's a Canadian team. You want to ensure that there's no like any idea of them being like, hey, what if? And I mean, the NHL could 100% revoke their status as an NHL team if they tried to like do any sus stuff. They're like, oh, you don't want to play in Ottawa? That's cool. You can't play in the NHL then. Um, like I don't realistically see that ever being an issue. But I the thing that probably puts the Remington bid ahead is the fact that you know Reynolds has a lot of money. Then the Remington group itself has a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
Their real estate, and there's just continuous money in that. Whereas all we know in the consortium of Neko Sparks is Neko Sparks, Snoop Dogg, and then a bunch of mystery people. So I think I'd like a little more transparency in that, but
Yeah. And we'll talk about the Remington and Reynolds bid in just a moment here. The one other thing that I saw that was kind of making people a little cautious was the whole mysterious website and office location of the Sparks Group. Their
oh
website,
yeah,
yeah, their website, a lot of people were like, it only got put up 3 weeks after the bidding started, or their bid was, or their intentions to bid on the Ottawa Senators was made known. And the links, if you try to click on different tabs on their website to see, how their business it makes their money or what have you, it's password protected. Their studio is, or sorry, their office is apparently located at like a studio in Hollywood. So there's a lot of concerns about them not being transparent enough about where their money is coming from. And I think that's a very valid concern. Like that brings up cash flow to me. Like, okay, well, like where's this money coming from? Do they actually have money that they're able to put into the business, or are they going to buy it, and like what's going to happen?
yeah,
There's been things brought up that they might just want to renovate the CTC versus move the team. So like I think there's other concerns too that kind of stand out. And I think Snoop Dogg is really cool that he's wanting to be involved in this bid. And I think if he was to get himself involved with the Remington and Reynolds bid, that would be the hands down perfect option.
yeah,
But I think some of the Remington and Reynolds bid stuff that maybe alleviates some of that anxiety for Sens fans is
yeah,
that it's more straightforward with the stakeholders. Ryan Reynolds is involved. The Remington group is involved. The deep pockets is not an issue. You look at Ryan Reynolds, his estimated net worth is about 350 million, which is more than Neko Sparks and Snoop Dogg combined, from what I could find online. And aside from that, the Remington group, the one brother who is the like main owner of the company, his net worth as of 2 years ago was $1.36 billion. And we all know how real estate went over COVID. So I wouldn't be
it's a lot of
surprised.
cheddar, a lot of
Yeah.
cheddar.
And so it's more straightforward. The pockets are deep with that money. We always talk about
Yeah,
those deep pockets when it comes to ownership. Ryan Reynolds himself has connections to Ottawa. He lived in Vanier for a period of time. I I think it's just more straightforward. It's more transparent, and I think that makes the situation and their potential ownership of the team less stressful for Sens fans. And I guess maybe it's a bit of a loaded question, but what are your thoughts on their bid?
that is a loaded question, Matt. There were a lot of avenues to go down, but I would probably say, there was chatter about adding, uh, is it York from Farm Boy? There's another significant amount of money. These are like the only thing that I could see being a bit of a stick in the mud with the whole bid is them wanting more land to develop like residential stuff. And that could be, a bit of a crux. But if it gets consistent funding for the Senators, they they're good to go, then like, yeah, like it's fine. It is what it is. Like I just want an owner that can bankroll for the next, 25, 30 years. And I don't have to ever worry about the team undercutting stuff and like hearing stories about, you know, staff having to toss their own garbage because they fired the cleaning services or stuff like that. So I would probably say, and like I'm pretty sure you're in agreement, that like we lean towards the Remington group. Obviously, Snoop Dogg is really cool. He was just on with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless, and he was you know gushing about the state of hockey and how bringing a more what's the
Diverse.
word? well, not just diverse, but like making hockey accessible. And you know what? One thing Snoop said was like, basketball used to be boring. It was 15 passes and then a shot in the hoop. And then when the brothers showed up, they started going bam, 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 and it was hilarious. Like the guy has charisma. He's ecstatic about hockey. So that's why like I love that. But Reynolds was at 2 friggin' Sens games this year. That's crazy.
Hey,
Like,
Snoop said he'd go to at least 6 a season, so 10
damn.
if they make the playoffs.
What
I
about 420 of them? You know what I mean? That'd leave us on a high.
All right, that's it. I'm ending the show. No, that's good. Yeah, and honestly, like that's the biggest thing. I do like him talking about increasing the accessibility of it and diversity and everything. That'd be great for the game. I think that's really important, and that's why I wish like it was a meshing of the minds, if you will. If Snoop Dogg could maybe walk over to the Remington group and be like, hey, but yeah, at the end of the day, it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds. And looks
Absolutely.
like the Sens could be selling for 900 to 1 billion US dollars, which is insane.
Yeah.
So hopefully the final bids will be in a week and a half. And let's see what happens.
Love to see it.
Thank you everyone for watching so far. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. We'd really appreciate it. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit at the Senstennial. Of course, you're here, so you know you can find us here at the Senstennial Podcast. We're also in audio format, so you can catch us there as well. And if I'm going to leave you with one thing, and one thing only, Matt, you know what that is? Can I get a go, Sens, go? I need the Via
Let's
Rail
leave
horn.
it on a high. Go Sens go.
Hell yeah.